Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we'll sit down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing. We have from 2000, Barking Dogs Never Bite. We then have Snowpiercer, Okja, and finally, newly released, now in theaters, Mickey 17. All four of these films directed by Bong, Joon, and this kind of completes all of Bong's films, and all of his films are going to be on our website now, so it's going to be great. Let's see what Vincent Daly has to say about them. Stay tuned and enjoy the show. Mr. Vincent Daly, how we doing over there, buddy?
Thomas, how's it going?
It's going okay on this side of the table. How was Bong Joon-ho for you this week?
Listen, a stellar week of movies, honestly. Some I was excited to return to, some I was a little nervous to return to.
Okay, I think I know which one that one.
Mainly Jake Gyllenhaal's acting in Okja, but
I don't know if that's like been a meme.
Really?
But yeah, it's just like I've heard that from other people too.
Really?
They have a problem with Jake on that movie.
Oh yeah, I mean
I did not watch it.
Yeah, that was honestly
Partially for that reason.
Yeah, that was my first experience with that film, and really what I walked away with. It was just like, okay, that's one of the bad ones for Jake. but yeah, this episode will cover the remaining movies on the website for, of course, our favorite Korean director Bong Joon-ho. The only one really missing here that we're going to take audio to, or we won't have audio to, is Parasite. Of course, rated at an 83, without a doubt a must watch. I think for me, I wanted to try to focus on his English language projects, as Mickey 17 falls into that. So
Sure.
Wanted to have.
I mean,
like,
you're covering Barking Dogs Never Bite, but it's
true.
It's more so. I think Parasite is just like, it really is on an island by itself.
Yeah.
It's the most known. It's the most awarded. It won the Oscar for Best Picture.
Yeah.
I think we can like highlight that another day, make it more special.
Sure.
Like he's already working on his next film.
Yes, and I would like to pair that with a film that falls into his Korean language speaking films.
And his next film will be.
Exactly. It seems like he kind of goes like one another, one every other, basically, kind of slopping back and forth. So
I think that it's cool that, well, first of all, I was shocked that Snowpiercer was not on this. First, Okja was rated. Didn't know that until I was putting it on the site. And then Snowpiercer was not.
Yeah.
Which super surprised me, just because you brought kind of Snowpiercer to the friend group's attention.
Yeah.
Because it was getting so much kind of cult buzz and a cult following.
Absolutely.
It's that whole like, no, watch it. It's actually good. Like, no, Chris Evans is like good in it.
Right.
It's Chris Evans, right? Not his brother. Yeah.
Yep.
So I was just shocked that wasn't on it.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's good that we're doing it on the podcast.
Yeah, and more than anything, I mean, Barking Dog Never Bites. Listen, I would love to have saved that, put that aside for one of our director specials.
Get it done with.
But listen, it was a great movie, and I was very happy to cover it. And also, Button Up, we have every last one of his films now rated on the website. And there's a couple directors this year on the podcast, folks, that we're going to be able to have the opportunity for. And believe me, as far as the project of the website goes, that makes me very, very happy that we have it's creative
completed.
voices that are complete on the website.
Yeah, and it's usable for people. I like the idea that listeners can go and actually go through a director's filmography.
Sure,
it's not incredibly spotty,
right?
Which it's going to be for a bit. Like we're working towards it.
If anything, I look at like Scorsese, and it's just like, oh my god, we have like nothing relative to his career.
I know. Well, it surprised me with David Lynch and everything like that when we covered David Lynch.
Absolutely,
but. And then that's another thing. We are in it for the long haul. Like 30 years from now, hopefully we're still doing this, whatever format that is.
Yep.
But we're going to have quite the catalog.
Yep.
With that's why I wish that we could do this full time. I wish we could do 10 movies a week. I mean, I really
Absolutely.
do. One, to build the numbers. It's a better product, and we enjoy doing it. But we'll get there one day.
Yeah, but that website has always been really a labor of love. But it's moments like this.
And laborious, that's for sure. You got that right.
Yeah, you got that right. But it's at these points it's just like, wow, okay, there's something really achieved with it. As far as the scope of like categorizing, cataloging everything, on there. So
Okay. Well, I think with that, let's jump into. Do you have any more opening notes?
No, we can jump right into it.
Okay, so let's jump back to the year 2000. Bong has done a lot of short films up until now.
Yep.
But basically, this is his true first feature film. And it's my understanding that it's really more comedic based. He always has a comedic edge. It's been great when we did the Bong's last episode, when we went through 4 or 5 of his films, because you saw the DNA of the guy, and you could really see how he got to Parasite.
Yep.
So, but Barking Dogs, it is his first one. It's a very cheap budget. Dying to know how it was.
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty great, actually. As the first film for Bong Joon-ho, I was
Original title.
Oh yeah, that was so funny. I was gonna.
Fleur de Suri Gay.
Nice.
That was a little bit more Japan.
Yeah,
Japanese.
it was
Maybe.
a little bit Japanese.
What is
a Korean is more like I don't know. It feels like a question mark
Gay.
is always on the end of it. Like
Fleur de Suri Gay. Yeah. I think that's more it.
Well, yeah, I guess you have a career in anime voice acting, Tom.
So you liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But like I said, I was tempted to kind of put this aside for a couple reasons. Our director's first special is something that I want to revisit with another round of directors, not because it did super great numbers-wise, but was just really one of my personal favorites to research and record last year. It was really one of my favorite episodes that we did. But even more so, I was kind of iffy if this would pull off that classic mix of comedy and genre-fluid tone that he's known for. First year of the podcast, folks, we covered Bong's work in the 2000s with one of our earliest director studies. That included Memories of Murder from 2003, The Host from 2006, and then lastly, Mother from 2009. Barking Dogs Never Bite might be the most influenced by other directors' works, especially in kind of a 90s style project, but it was shocking how much of his own formula is still here and made for a very memorable watch. This really stuck with me all week as far as watching this.
I'm quite surprised by that.
Yeah, I was too. I expected to be a little bored by it. I expected to say, oh, it's good, a la our director's first special. No, it's good, but it's not great. I mean, it's a good test run. This was really solid in a lot of ways that were surprising.
It's probably the buildup he had because, he was somewhat he made a bunch of short films.
Sure.
He was, doing other small projects. So, he knows how to be behind a camera.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Barking Dogs Never Bite is a dark comedy split between its charming coming-of-age style moments and some legitimately disturbing scenes that might throw you for a loop. In the story, a sad man is living in a crowded city apartment block and absolutely tortured to no end by an annoying yapping Shih Tzu. On the brink of insanity, he tries to kill the dog. I kid you not. It's a little dicey. I'll get into it in a moment. Which, honestly, in a single scene, if I had to point to the fact that he's got the goods out of the gate, in a single scene, it shows the potential for our director to experiment with tone and genre right away. I mean, this scene is just even describing it, extremely dark, probably a no-go for a lot of viewers just because of the subject matter, but I can't tell you how much he very early demonstrated that he has this fluid tone. He has this evolving tone to his film. Soon, missing dog posters around the complex start attracting attention, mainly of a curious young girl who starts an investigation of our unemployed, angry tenant. These characters become kind of a soft reflection of each other, as both desire things in life that seem out of reach, but in different ways they will learn that sometimes you need to let go of that desire and enjoy life as it comes at you. Like I said, Having watched this in the week and stuck with me, it really does make it makes Okja look almost like an animal cruelty apology movie for what goes on in this film. Immediately, we're given the classic "no animals were harmed" line at the start of the movie, but even still, I feel the need to give a little bit extra of a warning here. This is about killing dogs and cute dogs.
Kind of the opposite of what this guy's usually. He usually has very positive messages.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
But that's the thing. It's still a positive message.
Yeah, I
here.
bet. Yeah.
I'm telling you, even in your kind of expectation of what it is, it's all here, and I think that's very impressive. I remember saying that back with the host. Much less experience with reviewing movies, much less experience in his own style.
Yeah.
And saying, wow, it's all here. Everything that won acclaim for, it's all in the host. And similarly, it's all in here. Barking Dogs Never Bite. The fact that the movie leans into the kind of racy joke of Korean people eating dogs was really shocking, to be sure. But like so much of Bong's work, have faith that anything despicable, anything repugnant, anything stomach turning will be framed in a heartwarming way by the end. And I think that's shockingly the case here, given such dark subject matter. The main girl, Hyun Nam, is played by Bae Donna, who we've seen on the podcast in a lot of different capacities, as recently as Rebel Moon, but she has a pretty sizable acting career filled with sci-fi gems. And sci-fi gems specifically better than Rebel Moon. She's in a lot of the Wachowskis movies. She's in Cloud Atlas, our favorite, to call back to.
Yep.
Been in a lot of stuff. This was her second acting gig specifically, and surprisingly, she was really great in this. I can't deny that speaking honestly, I was just happy every time we weren't necessarily following the dog killer character for how pathetic his life is shown to be. But her coming-of-age story had some late 90s magic to it. And, something like from Richard Linklater or even like the anime space at the time. I was getting a little even slight like FLCL vibes from this. But really good. She was great in this. And once again, just one of the many surprises that the film has. Watching the film, though, you feel a lot of that 90s influence, something that Bong has spoken freely about as, his inspirations. It's a very simple movie, which I can understand how it would be overlooked for that reason, but while you're watching, there are just countless little touches that made it feel so special. First chase scene we get is fantastic, using the uniformity of an apartment complex, almost in kind of a Wes Anderson style of the symmetry of the shot. Really impressive, and just like a good chase scene, which you don't really get in the an amateur first film. And all over this movie are just very interesting camera work and camera angles, either capturing, the city's indifference to our characters' dreams or hyper-emphasizing the shift in feeling of a scene, especially, when we go to the darker side of the story and its capacity of, being mean and evil to dogs. It turns out after watching this, though, I did regret not putting this aside for our director's first special, because it really was an excellent first showing for Bong Joon-ho.
Wow.
I mean, this would have been perfect for that special, just in the sense of like, it's got all the trademarks, it's good on its own.
Right.
It's not bad. Like we experienced with Bottle Rocket. It's just like, yeah, this feels a little bit Wes Anderson, but it's not really like a great movie on its own. It's something there that I was really glad I watched this week, and glad to kind of understand in his filmography. It's currently free on multiple streaming services, so give it a watch and see the stepping stones for what will become a great directing career. We're going to go ahead and give Barking Dogs Never Bite 2000 a 70 on the dot.
70%. I'm really glad you enjoyed this film.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect it, because I didn't know what the amateurish was.
Sure.
The stench, you know what I mean? That it is. It's his first film. It always has a stench of a first film.
Right.
Or a low budget film.
Yep.
I love that this guy just seems very consistent, and that he's building up this filmography that's now seeping into the States.
Yep.
And he's totally grown a name for himself. To the fact that, like, Warner Brothers was like, let's give this guy that doesn't even speak English
Yeah, right.
$120 million to make a movie.
Yep.
That's probably not that's not going to make it back, potentially.
yeah, not 120, that's for sure.
But it's good. It's like, I really love that. So, 25 years ago, Barking Dogs Never Bite with a 70%. Excellent.
And what I mean by, like, the 90s-ness of it, too, is just, like, it is what Tarantino calls a little bit of a hangout movie. You know what I mean? It's a hangout type of story where you're just kind of... And that's the coming-of-age vibe, but I think it really worked well, if only because... every now and again, something big will happen in the story, and the way it's filmed, there's vision behind this.
It's by a talented guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, hangout movies can be, like, really bad, or, I mean, a lot of that comes down to the writing and the performances, basically. Are you capturing the audience?
Yep.
You know, you can have something like Zach Braff's Garden State.
Oh, right.
You know, and it's like, no, thank you.
Yeah,
you know,
terrible.
I'd rather watch subtitles for an hour and 50 minutes on this film.
Right. Natalie Portman and all. I mean, I will defend Natalie Portman, but not Garden State.
So in 2013, this is his first American film, correct? Or English-speaking film?
Yes.
Okay. And it's Snowpiercer, and I don't think at the time... It didn't explode onto the scene.
Right.
Snowpiercer slowly crept into kind of the American psyche, and it started getting cult following more and more. That's when, like, you got us, like the friend group, into it.
Yep.
And then a number of years after that, that's when FX picked it up to make it into a TV show.
Yeah, which I've still never checked out.
I don't think it's
yeah.
I don't hear the best things.
Unfortunately, I hear that with just a lot of, like, you get the successful sci-fi movie, and then it gets a spin-off show. And unfortunately, that spin-off show is really never makes the cut, you know. I'm thinking of Dune, obviously. I mean,
Dune Prophecy.
Yeah.
A lot of money behind that show.
Right.
And not a lot being talked about.
Yeah, not a lot being talked about at all.
Well, the way my understanding with Dune Prophecy is just the structure of the show, they did it wrong. We wanted, like, because it's like it takes 10,000 years before the events of Dune.
Okay.
And
that's a little too far.
it's what are you doing? Because we have no attachment.
Yeah.
And everything kind of still looks the same, and yet nothing is the
There's
same.
not even probably, like, names of houses.
The characters aren't there. I think the names of houses are there, but it's more so like, what do you keep? Stop. Like, can we get a little bit closer to the family lineage at least?
Right.
But I think with FX can write shows.
Sure.
You know?
I will go to bat for FX. I think FX is the master of the gem show that you don't really expect much about, and then it actually surprises you pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I maybe put AMC on the top of that.
Okay.
But FX has made some, like, they do Shogun, which people love Shogun. Of course, The Bear.
Critical Darling.
Yeah. And just this, I don't think had that. I mean, Jennifer Connelly's in it, so it's like, how is it bad? I'm going to check it out. Of course, Jennifer Connelly. They got Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, you in
It actually has a stacked cast. But the show didn't go too far, but the film exists.
Yes.
Came out in 2013. It's got big names in this movie as well. It's Snowpiercer. Just get into it. How'd you like it? Tell us about the movie.
Well, I'll start with kind of a personal note with this. In the early days of Netflix, many projects and genres were able to grab audiences' attention simply for the novelty that streaming provided. A sort of flattening to the barrier of entry it took to get into series or different corners of film. At the time, and honestly still today, few countries have benefited more from this flattening than South Korea, legitimately holding wonderful films that deserve a watch and creative voices that sometimes do justice to genres better than Hollywood. While Snowpiercer is one of Bong Joon-ho's English-speaking movies, it was one of his early breakthroughs for me personally, showing that Korean filmmaking was worth paying attention to. So I was extremely excited to cover it this week, realizing it wasn't rated period on our site, and just being such an early film for me that really kind of awakened something specifically in looking to Korea and saying, wow, there are definitely some films to pay attention to, some movies that are worth your time. Snowpiercer is based off a French graphic novel taking the harsh outlook of climate change and using it for a frozen Earth sci-fi setting to tell a sociological, dystopian story. That's a lot of words. It's also a killer action movie. We center our story on the Great Arc, a 1,001 car mega train that never stops moving and is the very last bastion of humanity. Chris Evans plays the humble leader of the tail section of the train, one of many in a sea of struggling families. They are all under the stern thumb of the front, the twisted order that sees the very train itself as divine and living under frighteningly different circumstances. With the help of our director's favorite actor, Song Kang-ho, him and a group from the back hatch a plan to fight to the front, demanding justice and answers for why on earth they would be treated the way they are. Before I ever reviewed a movie in my life, my sheer love of this film came from its top-notch action. I loved this because it was an action movie, even more so than a sci-fi movie or, I don't know, it's kind of a societal message tied into, poor in the back, rich in the front, which we'll get into in a moment. Back when we first reviewed the first Die Hard movie, I boldly claimed that the key to great action was, in fact, location and how stakes of that setting are communicated to the audience. The very literal left-to-right progression that the train offers, that a train, no less the Snowpiercer train offers, was such a brilliantly simple action premise that it lit my younger mind ablaze. I was at least as thrilled with this as I was the original John Wick, of just like, wow, they are doing something with the context of the action and how that really is the magic of the action.
Let me compare it to, and John Wick came out a year after this.
Yes.
Let me compare it to almost The Raid. Because it's like, okay, you have just a vertical train.
Yes.
Basically,
absolutely.
Confined area, and you go from car to car.
Absolutely.
With The Raid, it's just from floor to floor.
Yeah, you got to fight it out. It's very video gamey, honestly.
It is.
Kind of
simplify
the structural.
Too.
Yeah. The structure, the skeleton of it. It's simplified, but man, is it just so effective for that reason at communicating why a specific action scene, any of the action scenes you can point to in the movie, work and why we are able to feel the stakes to it. As further proof of this outright owning, look no further than 41 minutes in. What I will brutally call the axe scene is a perfect example of what I mean here. This fight, it's great on its own. It's got good choreography. It's got a good setup. I certainly love how disturbing the introduction of it is. It's a very odd way to kick off the fight. But what elevates this scene halfway through comes from the train going through a tunnel. The magic of the scene is creating stakes through something the audience can understand, and how darkness shadows over a train going through a tunnel is something so relatable, simple. Even if you've never been in a train, you can understand the stakes and how that elevates the action up. It really, really is some magical stuff. And honestly, I was coming off of watching Snowpiercer again. I was like, one, I can't believe how much I still love this movie.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, it was great. Because I really haven't watched it since, probably as proof of it not being on our database.
It's probably 10 years.
I haven't watched it since back then. I just came away saying, like, oh my God, Bong, just do another action movie. Like, please, you did a great job here. Sci-fi wise, though, I would say this gets a lot of praise from me and a lot of appreciation. This belongs to the very small, I'll call it even side genre of frost punk, a personal favorite.
Really?
Really? That's real.
Name 5 films in the frost punk genre.
I said side genre.
It is a sub-genre.
Sure. I guess the bigger.
Can you name 3?
No.
Polar Express.
They do that drift with the train.
But okay, so you are taking cyberpunk,
yes,
and taking it to frostpunk.
Frostpunk.
Because it's snow themed.
Yes.
Cyberpunk.
Climate themed specifically.
Okay.
That it's.
Can you name another film?
Oh wait, Day After Tomorrow. That's frostpunk.
It's not punk. It's just frost.
Well, punk meaning
that's frost
dystopian.
Drum. That's Drom Frost.
A Drom Frost. Frost Drom. Either way, though, that's the name.
That's what the internet sleuths are calling it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah. And listen, there's.
Not heavy enough to be a compilation on the site.
Yeah, no. And that's why side genre. Not even subgenre. It's a side step.
Okay, all right.
But it's one that is stylistically rich with grimy tech and near future story potential. The theme of class struggle is no stranger to post-apocalyptic sci-fi, but once again, containing the story on a train simply communicates how this society has the poor in the back and the rich in the front. This does not need to be over-explained. This does not need to have constant narration, I'm looking at you, Mickey 17, to communicate its stakes to the audience. It is understandable just by the simple recognition of the audience. Folks, if you've ever felt awkward walking past or sitting in first class, then, boy, do I have a movie for you. The salt in the wound of this movie is the reveal of each side's circumstances and how painfully different life can be from cart to cart. Remembering the film, I wouldn't have told you that acting performances were a standout, but on this recent watch, I would say that's something that I enjoyed a lot more here. Whether it's Tilda Swinton doing probably one of her best and earliest unhinged characters. I was looking at her acting career. It's like
she's a very interesting actress, Tilda.
Yeah, she's a lot of villains, Narnia and stuff like that.
She's got that vibe about her.
But I was trying to see, like, when does she start acting like
insane.
The crazy. Yeah, exactly. And I think this might have been, I don't know about the very first, but this might have been one of the first.
I believe it.
And really enjoyable for that reason, because she's, really, like, despicable. Like,
she
love
totally
to hate her.
Apparently she's quite she's very kind of close friends with Bong. Now, I don't know if this was the impetus of it or they were friends before this. It is a surprise that I feel like she was swapped with Toni Collette in Mickey 17.
Yes,
now,
absolutely.
I like Toni Collette a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
But you could see...
There's a template there.
Yeah, there's a character in that spot. Who gets the Tildy spot in this film,
Absolutely. I will say as well, and as it's been probably said to death about this film, a surprisingly good emotional performance from Chris Evans. No less 2013 Chris Evans.
It's been a while since I've seen it. Maybe it's true.
Okay,
I thought you were going to go like John Hurt or Ed Harris.
No. Ed Harris is really great, though.
Of course he is.
I love Ed Harris. Just in the sense that this could be a potential doubleheader with The Truman Show, just for Ed Harris's character being a mastermind, Like, both are just side by side for that reason. But more than anything, I was coming away with this and just saying this was not only a great way to recommend getting into Bong like I originally got into it, but just a perfect rewatch as well. I think it's an introduction to a great director as I was introduced to it, introduced to him, and hooked me. But if you haven't watched this in a while, if this was a watch back in those early days of Netflix where you kind of just watched everything on Netflix just because it was something new and novel, this is worth your time and worth finally getting on the site, surprisingly. We're going to go ahead and give Snowpiercer 2013 an 80 on the dot.
Whoa, wow.
Yeah. Great movie.
What's crazy, $42 million budget, by the way.
Yeah.
Which, it got you further back then, $42 million than now. But still, that's like a small budget.
Yeah.
That's not a big budget. And
especially when they're the set work. Yes, it's a contained train, but that also means, like, you can't really, like, flub it with CGI. I mean, there's definitely CGI, obviously, outside of the train. But, like, when you're on the train... That's all practical sets.
And you also have to have, like, set creativity. Because you at least you can't be going through the same cart time and time again.
Yes.
You need to mix up a little bit.
Absolutely.
But that is true. So, it is a smaller set in general. I don't know. That's good to hear that, I haven't seen it in 10 years and the action held up. I was a little bit worried that the action was going to kind of look... I don't want to say old South Korean, but like cheaper South Korean.
Sure.
I don't want to say like gimmicky.
Yeah.
Like it can be kind of comical sometimes.
Right. Well, you're thinking.
I feel like I'm hitting the South Koreans kind of hard this episode.
But yeah. Well, especially Barky Dog Never Fights. I had to say it. There's something there that I'm with you. I think also the evidence of that is Bong's never returned to an action film like this. In how much action that is packed into.
Do you do any research of the head stunt guy?
No, I didn't.
There's so many names. I just don't I don't know which one was the guy that we can follow.
True.
But
yeah, that's a lot of times with stunt choreographers because it's just the team.
Yes, but usually there's one guy heading it.
Yeah.
Like a Chad Stahelski or whatever.
Yes.
Wow, I had another point to make. I can't remember now.
Something with the fight choreography?
No. Oh, I was going to make a joke about the two Koreas.
Yeah, maybe we can.
Well, you know what? I write down notes and then I forget to get to my notes.
To the notes, right?
And what did this movie? What movie was it? It was the movie. It was the animated movie we covered in the 90s.
Yep.
It had different names. Maybe it was The Thief and the Cobbler.
Okay.
It had different names, right, when it came out. And was Harvey Weinstein connected to that?
Yep.
The animation for that film was done by a North Korean
really?
animation company.
North Korean.
And I went down the rabbit hole a little bit, and they did some work on, like, not a lot of films,
Right.
they did have contracts.
Wow.
And I had no idea that a North Korean animated company was able to breach those barriers.
Yeah,
and I was like, what if
absolutely.
that's the way back in? What if
Yeah.
that's how we liberate North Korea is through children animation films? Thought it was
We'll
nice.
bring them back.
But I found, I don't know, it just popped into my head.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see that when you were doing
No,
that?
I didn't. But there is something, I mean, as far as coloring in the animation space, a lot of times that will be outsourced. Not necessarily to North Korea, but I'm surprised they took the check, you know? Yeah, a lot of that outsourcing in animation is coloring and some of the latter half of it is always, usually outsourced
It's
to.
filled in almost. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Where are we here? Snowpiercer, 80%. That's a good score.
I was tempted to give it more. I did want to control myself because I
Here's
was.
what surprises me about Snowpiercer. And sorry for cutting you off.
No.
It's just that it doesn't need to be this good to still be appreciated. And yet, like, I'm like 10 years later, you're watching. I haven't seen it for 10 years as well. But the fact that the critic praise is really high on it, and then for you to sit down and be like, no, it's an 80%. It is that good.
Yeah.
Is even more impressive.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely, and I think the critical praise on this is a lot in like the what does this tell in like a sociological, economic way?
Oh, of course
What
the
is the
critics love
message?
that.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
God.
and that's there. But I'm telling you, just like I put in my intro, it's all that, but it's a killer action movie.
It's also
most
just
of
like a
all.
movie, so watch it.
Right,
We don't
right.
have just like 40 minutes on it, pontificating from other people.
But that's where I really want to get across. Like it's action
I
first,
loathe-
and that's my first love of it.
Yeah.
You know,
I've started to loathe the industry that we picked up in.
I'm right there with you.
Speaking of which, let me go on another tangent with you. So I've been working a ton. Like I was working a bunch this weekend, which means I have to go. Like my fresh podcasts are out, so I need to go back to like older episodes.
Yep.
So I was doing a movie podcast. And I was listening to somebody else's take on Paddington 3.
Oh, okay.
Paddington in Peru.
Yep.
And there was multiple people on the episode, and one of the people with a lot of vocal fry, also I'll put that in, with a ton of vocal fry, first thing said about Paddington in Peru, it's like, well, first of all, it's just like, it's a very anti-capitalist film. And I just like, I really appreciated that because I think it's important for that, for like children to start learning that.
Right.
And I just can't tell you for how many different reasons. Not only was it wrong, but please shut up and get off the mic. Paddington Peru, did you pick up any anti-capitalist?
No, if anything, I would say it is pro-capitalist because of the marmalade production at the very end. I mean, there is definitely labor in that movie.
It just was like it's like half of the film critic population is just like is so fixated on anti-capitalist stuff, and it's just like, listen, man, I get it, but
it's a kids' movie. You may be struggling to write about it, but
I just think it's really good for kids to be like learning that, and it's like, shut up.
In Peru. Yeah, I'm sure there's no atrocities in Peru.
All right, so that was 2013 Snowpiercer with an 80%. Moving on to 2017's Okja. And this, by the way, I feel like all of Bong Joon-ho's movies, for the most part, come out during Cannes. Or Cannes Film Festival, and always do well.
Yeah.
Always get some sort of accolade, if not the top prize of the Palme d'Or or Best Acting or something like that. Just helps with the buzz.
Sure.
I mean, the guy has just had buzz for a while.
Absolutely.
So Okja, I remember when this came out, I remember seeing it because this had a revitalization of Snowpiercer around this time.
Yep. And now funded by Netflix. So
Right. And,
directly, that is.
And you can still get it on Netflix. Right? It's technically a Netflix movie. I almost watched this. I didn't. I did hear rumblings about the Jake Gyllenhaal performance in it.
Yeah.
But
you've never seen this period?
No, I'm most in the dark about this. Like I even did more research about Barking Dogs. So I kind of just wanted to let you take it. But so Okja, 2017, what's it about?
Yeah. Well, so out of the movies this week, Okja was the only one previously rated. Now, I'll be straight up with you. The main thing I remember about this movie was really, really hating Jake Gyllenhaal. and don't get me wrong, I love Jake Gyllenhaal.
That's not true. Stop. No.
Prisoners, in Prisoners, great.
I'm not saying you haven't liked. Okay, sure.
Nightcrawler, great.
Nightcrawler, absolutely. And then you get him in Ambulance.
Ambulance, he was
you
really
get him in
bad.
Roadhouse.
Oh, you're so
So I think the proper thing to say is it's complicated.
Yes, it's very complicated. Pre-podcast, I scored this at a 60 on the dot and never looked back. But with this week and a lot more appreciation of Bong style in mind, I was excited to give this a rewatch on Netflix and give it another chance to kind of turn me around. Okja is mostly an adventure film, but like so much of our director's work, fluidly jumps between action, comedy, and I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this again next to Barking Dogs Never Bite, probably some of the darkest subject matter he's tackled to date. Okja is the bestest super pig there ever was, a product of a worldwide marketing competition to selectively breed a new type of livestock in order to tackle rapidly growing world hunger. Little Misha has grown up with him, wholly unaware of his origins, however, and like any pet owner, would do anything for him as if the piggy was her own flesh and blood. Misha's beloved companion quickly becomes the center of attention for everyone between ALF eco-terrorists and the nightmarish Mirando Corporation with their genetic monstrosities. But through everything, she must persevere in her unconditional love to save her dear Okja from everyone that wants the big pig. While I can't really call this a sci-fi, Okja still has a Soylent Green style premise that is using the topic of food scarcity in a near future setting to tell a story. Some of my favorite aspects come from the satire that is created with this, mainly that kind of corporate dystopia that you feel in the film, and definitely the marketing cynicism around the food industry, which has some legs. There is, some analogies of what the food industry has done previously on marketing alone and how that kind of comes into here. Yes, it's cartoonish, but there's definitely some parallels there. Tilda Swinton is yet again our evil center of the story, creating a villain that is literally and figuratively wants to put lipstick on a pig. But there are definite times that the satire doesn't hit. That satire, I feel sometimes, dips a bit too deep into Fantasyland, which causes its commentary to lose some bite. I feel like satire is so difficult to pull off because it's a balancing act. You need the ridiculous, you need to blow it up to be cartoonish in some way, but you can't blow it up to be too cartoonish that it loses what you're associating it to. Go back to our Paul Verhoeven study. I will always point to Starship Troopers. It's a critique of fascism, yet it is a fascist movie. Like, you're watching people saying, gung-ho, we love war, all this stuff. There's something there that it's a balancing act of, like, are you in on the joke, or do you get that there's a capacity for a joke to it? And Okja, I would say, is in that, but just sometimes just dips very slightly over. Another area where I think this works, and I mean really works, is the subtle kind of Studio Ghibli or Disney vibes that you get towards the start of the film. Once again, I can't directly compare the two, mostly for how extreme and dark this does get around animal cruelty. But it's certainly more than a little anime in its aesthetic of a young girl paired in the, Korean countryside with a mystical creature. Not mystical in this case, but, like a big creature. There is something there that you're watching the first half of this film, and it works like a Ghibli film in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. You also get a lot of comedic timing throughout this entire film with side characters that just feel anime-inspired once again, which I think can be a real feather in the cap of, like, again, Bong Joon-ho is always balancing these different genres, these different tones in the film. This has a much wider range of where that goes, but still there is some magic achieved to it. Let's get down to it, though. Like I said, and like we've probably said before on the podcast with certain actors, do we get something good from Gyllenhaal, or do we get something out of left field from him? And this is probably the worst example of the latter. You did really remind me, though, with Roadhouse.
Well, what do we get with, like, what's his character, at least? What is he supposed to be?
Jake plays a spokesperson for this Nightmare Food Corporation.
Okay.
But he's like a Crocodile Dundee. No, not Crocodile Dundee. Steve Irwin style, like, nature, but he's very flamboyant, very flailing, and the voice work is just like truly awful.
Oh, no.
It's so annoying. He's such a terrible character, and also the type of acting performance where you watch it and you're like, who the hell said yes to this?
That's the same thing.
The amount of people that had to say, yeah, that's good. Who let this happen?
We felt the exact same way with the Bayhem.
Yeah. With Ambulance.
Yes, with Ambulance. It's just like who let him act this way?
Yeah, who let him sing in the car?
And then even with Roadhouse a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. But he can be good.
He can be very good. He also can be very bad. It's just, hey,
he's cooking. He's cooking in not a good way.
Yeah, you may be cooking too much. This character, he's in charge of leading the content rollout for the Super Pig competition. And again, to call his flailing, flamboyant acting performance over the top in this would be putting it very mildly. I mean, this was the sole reason why I didn't like the film and kind of still didn't love it because of that. He's just a total asshat, and while I completely understand that's the point of his character, don't get me wrong, it is the example of what I mean with satire going too far and losing some of its bite. His character is so, I feel, unrealistic to what a spokesperson would be for these, if this food propaganda was created, that I feel like it loses its way a little bit, where otherwise it was really biting. It was really saying something. But yeah, so the in conclusion, still a little dicey on Gyllenhaal. I really, really wanted to kind of come out with a different feeling on it, but I'm pretty much about the same. I do feel a need to comment on the CGI a little bit, just as a closing note. It just hasn't aged super great.
For the animal itself, for Okja.
For Okja, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It seems so good in the clips.
It does. In the first half, it benefits from, or I shouldn't say benefits, it's hurt by just a lot of up-close shots, like literally characters putting their face on Okja, which just, I mean, that much contact with whatever, I don't know, that they have a green balloon that they,
literally like a green
over.
box, yeah.
There's just something to it, it's just like, it's not super great, and also just the brightly lit countryside of, rural Korea.
Oh, okay. Man, I thought
not super great.
Okay, gotcha, all right.
Yeah.
It's hippopotamus-esque. This Okja beast, it's very much like a hippo.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's
and
a big
it's just
hippo pig.
little girl just trying to save her hippo.
Yes, exactly.
Man, it looked good in the clips. It really did.
Yeah, I think it is good as it goes on.
It's not Jurassic Park good because it's not real animated things that you can touch, and it's
or just even Jurassic Park. It's not the lighting isn't working in its favor.
Right. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
And on that same shade, actually touching so close to Okja, like hugging Okja, it's going to be hurt by that type of up close and personal shot. On the other hand, though, where I'm walking away with this is much like I found with The Host, one of Bong Joon-ho's best films. The quality of the writing and the characters overcomes any technical limitations. Where originally this was only my second movie I've ever seen with Bong or from Bong, now at the tail end of his work, I can appreciate the care put into these characters a lot more, especially the odd, throwaway character, the side characters in the eco-terrorists, for instance, or the random characters in the corporation. There's a lot done there that I feel like captures this feeling of what his movies represent. The range this has goes from heartwarming and silly to dark and cruel in a much larger way than any of his films so far, including Mickey 17, but like nearly all of his projects, it has the care put into it of whose story this is first and foremost. We're going to go ahead and give Okja 2017 a 68.
Okay, 68.
A little bit of a bump.
So we are bumping. Though. We are bumping, yeah.
Still 60s, yeah. Not if the markers are the 10 spots, I don't feel like it breaks into 70s for me.
So you would kind of just suggest if you're going down the Bong Joon-ho, if you want to see how he gets from point A to B, it's one of his films, it's on Netflix, super available, go ahead and turn it on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
How's the little girl acting in it, by the way?
Surprisingly good.
Yeah, she is pretty young.
Yeah. I mostly didn't bring her up because I don't think she's really gone on to do much more, but definitely one of those things where it's like she's such a young child actress that it's like she almost doesn't know how to not be a child, which is good. You know, and that really translates to a good child performance. You know, when they are just themselves.
Cool.
So.
Okay, I like that. All right, so Okja, we're bumping up to an 68%. Still not a bad film. Like this guy is still a good filmmaker. Almost
for sure.
He's got good ratings all around. So. With that, before we get on to our next movie, our movie that's in theaters, we're going to go into our producer segment because we have a couple producers to thank for this episode.
Producer segment.
Yes. So first, and we had the special last week, so we didn't do the producer segment last week.
Yep.
But we have our executive producer for the episode is Angela Kazan, coming in with a Gump Club donation.
Whoa!
Which I by the way, I think...
It's the first?
Sadly, yes. It's taken 177 episodes. We don't have that many set donations, but the Gump Club has been one that hasn't been sent in.
It called out to Angela.
So Angela, $47. It came out to be $48.90 because she did the transaction fee, which is always super appreciated.
Excellent.
But Angela, you're in the Gump Club now. We appreciate that. She also wrote it in a producer note. And Angela says, I really enjoy the podcast and have been listening to old and new episodes. I recently listened to the Stephen King episode with your review of Stand By Me.
Oh, wow.
It was a nice reminder of a great coming-of-age movie to watch with my 13-year-old.
Absolutely.
Which, how cool is that?
Yeah, we got to do more Stephen King episodes. That's a great callback.
That's an older episode, too.
Yeah. Was that for Firestarter?
That's exactly what it was for.
It was not good. But Stand By Me, great. We also did Green Mile, great. You know?
Yeah. But that's great. Angela, thank you so much for your donation. You're part of the Gump Club, finally. It's lonely in there.
It's lonely with Forrest
It's funny
Gump.
because we've had multiple people do the Godfather donation, which is like the $100 kind of. No one's done the $50 one.
Listen, I'm happy just because it calls attention to my Forrest Gump ratings. So.
Like it says on the website, it's for being fearless of stand into what you believe in.
Nice.
And that's like Vin giving Forrest Gump a 47. He believes it, so that's what he gave
I believe it's a crap movie.
Angela, thank you so much. You were an executive producer of episode 177 with your donation of $48.90. And for co-executive producer, we have our boy Matt D. Writing in. And Matt D came in, what did he come in with? With a movie ticket.
Excellent.
Movie ticket. And Matt D wrote a big note, so I'll just set the note up a little bit, just in case you didn't hear last week's episode, or to remind people, we had the special, which is like Vin and Tom Save the Movies. What are 5 ideas each of how we would go about either saving the movie theater or saving movies themselves? How do we make movies better to get people to go to the movies?
Right.
And then Vin also dropped the bombshell of all bombshells at the end of it, saying that maybe we just delete all movie theaters and we don't have them anymore.
No, not delete, just not save.
That's right.
Let
Vin
them
said,
flounder.
Maybe we let them suffocate themselves. But anyway, so Matt D came in and wrote, I agree with the premise that there are structural changes that can be made that will increase theater attendance, such as expanded Oscar requirements, which was something I kind of said.
Yes.
Totally change Oscar requirements to spread the film out and keep it out for longer.
Yep.
Though I also agree with Vinny in that this may simply be a case of changing times. Humans have been interested in stories for thousands of years. Matt is going deep.
He's going hard.
He is going hard. Putting more thought to we did on the episode. Humans have been interested in stories for thousands of years, and the theater experience is but a blip on that timeline. Theaters are a mode of watching film, and film is one of the medium of storytelling. The biggest problem for movie theaters is the same problem that doomed the predominance of the stage play and vaudeville and the radio play. Some other mode or medium of storytelling came along that became more popular for one reason or another. The biggest difference now and 30 or 50 years ago isn't quality of film or Oscar requirements or control of the final cut of the film. It's availability. People consume art in ways that's best for them. 30 or 50 years ago, you either go to the movies or you don't see the movie, which that is a good point.
Yeah, very good point.
I mean, even 20 years ago.
Sure.
And almost all movies that were good anyhow were released via the theater. That's not the case now, and the problem isn't just that traditional theater movies are going to streaming too soon. It's that theaters are competing with literally tens of millions of hours of available content that most people can watch at any time at no additional cost.
And I think we definitely touched on that as far as cheapening of the value of a movie, period. You know, I mean, just the amount of movies that there are. it kind of cheapens an individual experience.
That's
of
true.
Like, you got to see this movie because it's the only blockbuster.
And what also he's saying is it's like it's on the same streaming service that also has thousands of other things to watch.
Oh, sure.
Whether even to be TV shows or other movies that could just like, hey, watch this.
Yep.
50 years ago, there was almost no competition. 20 years ago, they competed with video stores and whatever was playing on TV for the minority of people that had cable. Now they're competing with your living room and access to more TV and film than anyone can watch in a lifetime, which is true. Vinny is simply acknowledging a universal truth. He's on
my side. He's on my side.
If one person...
Yeah.
All right, I'll say my thoughts. Vinny is simply acknowledging a universal truth that industries and paradigms and time changes. If we replace this argument of how to save theaters with how to save Blockbuster or how to save radio plays or how to save vaudeville, you'll see the futility.
Wow,
the
futility.
Wow, this stage play is probably a good example of what may happen to the movie theater. It was the predominant way to enjoy storytelling for a long time, much longer than the movie theater, much longer than the book even. Other things came along and it lost its predominance, but is still around in a diminished but stable form. Movie theaters may find a diminished but stable form in the wake of streaming services.
Wow. Truly making streaming the boogeyman. Like that I think that perspective is like streaming is the end of the theater.
If I would have bet, all of the money that Matt T would have been on my side.
Oh, right.
We'd be outside the theater saying everyone should be dressing better when they come. Like, let's get back to,
all the money.
Well, let's go back to the 1950s. You put on a 3-piece suit, go to the movies, have a night out. Okay. He's totally taking the opposite thing. I'll maybe make another, I don't know, stage plays. Stage plays were the thing, even back, whatever, Christ, in the 1500s, people did stage plays. And I guess they were the thing to see entertainment. Stage plays are also, like, massive and huge.
Yeah.
I think who just came out with, I can't remember. But a play just started up on Broadway, and it was the best-selling... It was the best opening to Broadway ever.
Oh,
it made
wow.
over $2 million.
Everyone's chasing the record breaker.
You know what I mean? So it's like that still exists, and plays are actually doing quite well. It's not the same. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in all of this. I just think the other issue is the medium itself, from plays to radio plays and
there
things,
is
and
a little.
like
It's
that,
not all
vaudeville.
apples to apples.
It's not, because it's still a visual experience. So all it is. You watch a movie in the theater and watch the movie on your TV screen at your house. It's the same product, just on a smaller screen with worse sound and a different environment. Where, like, from a play to radio play to theater, totally different things going on.
Absolutely.
So the thing is, really, just what's the best way to watch the same exact content? That's what we're really talking about.
Sure.
And that to me is theater, like that.
That's a great point,
Listen,
because if movies themselves aren't necessarily evolving, I mean, maybe there's an argument there of like what we even brought up of like extra blockbusters, these big, multi-$100 million movies being, that is a fundamental change of what movies are. But you are right, like if it's still ultimately a movie, then a theater is optimal.
The way they're cut, they're same. Truly, the way they're cut and the way directors are editing their films are in the environment that they're going to be watched in a theater as well.
Sure.
So really, the best fine-tuned, it's almost like, I don't know, is it driving a sports car and it's like putting normal unleaded and putting premium in? It's like...
I don't know.
Okay.
We got too many analogies.
Regardless, I hear the point. Everybody's evolving and everyone's cool with it, apparently.
Except for you.
I'll be the one guy trying to keep...
Well, listen, here's the good news and bad news for you, Matt D. By you siding with me on this, we're both enemies of Sean Baker. So, Tom, rejoice.
Oh!
Sean Baker's in your corner.
That is such a great point. I will be getting lunch with Sean Baker. Yes,
you will. You will be starring in Nora, too.
No, it's great. You and Matt D can go to the one theater that still exists, which just happens to be down the street playing the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I'm going to cover Rocky Horror again.
I'm not giving up my side of the argument, but okay.
No.
I'm glad that people are just here again.
It's also not an argument. It's also like a discussion.
It's been established. Matt D. and Vincent Daly of the Daily Ratings, a movie podcast, decide that theaters don't need to be a thing anymore.
Cut off the limb.
And I will be trying to persuade people to wear suits and dresses when they go to the theater. All right.
All right, there we go.
Angela, thank you so much for being executive producer. Matt D, as always, providing content for us. You are co-executive producer of episode 177. We always love the input. We always love the notes. Folks at home, we are completely producer supported. We're listener supported. I don't know if you noticed, we're not taking ad breaks after every single movie. We don't have advertising all over the website. Because we're not taking advertising money, you can also gain all the access to our content for free. Everything's out there. It's not behind a paywall. It's not a tier structure where you have to pay a little bit to get a little bit. Everything we do is out there, but if you're enjoying it, if you're using it, we look at that as value in your pocket, and can you send us value back in our pocket? It is the value for value model. That's what we're going off of, and that's what Angela and Matt D has done for this episode. They get value for what we're doing here, so they go to the website, they send in a donation, become a producer, and they show us what value they're getting. We don't peg a number to it. We don't force you to send in a certain amount. That's why we don't do Patreon, because the whole idea is everyone's on their own finances. Everyone's week to week is different than everybody else's. So just send them what you can. If you have $5 and you enjoy the show, send $5. It means the world to us. And the cool thing is when you become an actual legitimate producer of the Daily Ratings, you can send in a producer note. These can be questions, comments, critiques, and ask us anything. Say anything you want to. We want to give our producers more than just a thank you. We want to bring you into the conversation and kind of give you a voice. So we love the notes. Keep it coming. I also want to say, we are growing here, Vin. Like, we like seeing our numbers grow. It is, I always say, it's like slow. It's a crawl slow. But more and more people are coming on board. More states, more countries are listening. It's very cool.
And more platforms. YouTube is growing. If you find us on YouTube, definitely make sure to subscribe. Pretty much any social media channel, by all means, give us a follow.
Yeah, it's a slow start. And we're getting the ball rolling. But the cool thing is, I think it makes a difference. We don't have producers every episode. We're still people still have to get used to the whole idea of doing this.
Yep.
A movie ticket here or there, a Gump Club here or there. People donated $50 or $10 or $100. It's all of it actually adds up. Vin and I are a slim operation here, and I just want to let people know that it actually makes a difference because we have up costs with things. We do have things on our monthly basis, on a yearly basis. Some of the stuff that we need, in fact, we just have to do an upgrade because our database is so huge, just as far as the amount of memory doing a movie site costs, and we had to do an upgrade. Like, stuff costs money, and it actually really does mean a lot to us that people will send in some cash once in a while.
Absolutely.
Because it helps, and it helps us keep this going because it's more than just time. Ben and I put a lot of time into this on a weekly basis. We have thousands of hours in total in this project. So it is really appreciated. Your $5 will go a long way. Yes. It means the world to us, so we really appreciate it. If you want to be a producer, if you want to send in a producer note, head to the donations tab at thedailyratings.com. While you're there, check out all the movies that Vince has rated. Check out the compilations if you guys kind of want to hone down on a specific thing. And check out our new shop. We've got all our hats and hoodies and mugs and T-shirts and everything like that. So everything is there at thedailyratings.com. Head to the donations tab. If you want to email us, your producer note, it's tom.vin. Is it vin.tom? Tom.vin at thedailyratings.com. Email us your producer note there. And again, can't thank you so much, Angela, Matt D, episode 177, executive producer and co-executive producer. Okay, with that, let's go on to the movie that's now in theaters. I think that this is what kicked off 2025 now.
Oh, really?
I think Brave New World was like, we got to get this thing out.
Yeah.
We gave 2 or 3 weeks of that having, number one at the box office.
Yep.
I think,
almost by default.
We've got big movies coming out. Was it Black Bag comes out next week? It is getting very good reviews.
That's good.
And I just like the idea that it's early March and good movies are coming out.
Right.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And we start this week, Bong's new film, Mickey 17. It was supposed to come out last spring. It got pushed. It got pushed again. Till right now, it's his most expensive film. It's with a major American studio. And it's with our boy, Robert Pattinson, who Vin and I both really like.
Yes.
And we both saw it. Vin, I'm going to stop talking. You get into it, and we'll take it back and forth.
Well, listen, I do have one side note before we get into this.
Okay.
What is up with the double acting performances this year? We get Alto Knight with 2 De Niros.
Bobby.
We get 2 Bobbies. We have Sinners has 2 Michael B. Jordans, and now this has 2 Robert Pattinsons. What is this double acting coming back?
I don't know, but I don't like it.
Yeah, and I don't like how many we've gotten this year alone. So
talk about compilations again. I think it's getting easier to do. I think it's difficult to do still,
like technical wise,
but getting easier to do. I know Bong. I listened to an interview with Bong, and it was like that was the most difficult thing they did. It's like how do we? Well, they're very physical at times.
Yep.
How do we have the for a split second, you don't want to see a difference. You want to see two Robert Pattinsons on screen.
Yep.
But I think it's getting easier, and why not?
Sure.
But there's movies out there. I think again, Oblivion is one.
Oh, right, Oblivion. Yeah,
A lot of Tom Cruise.
Yeah. What's that one with Tom Hardy that he plays two gangsters?
Legend.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
that's a compilation.
It is a thing, but it is weird that
there.
you're right. There's like three movies, three prominent movies coming out.
Yeah. So
Mickey 17, and it is Mickey, by the way, not Mikey. Set up the film. Let's just tell us about it. It can be confusing what it's about, and then we'll take it back.
Sure. So as far as I can tell, this is only the second time Bong has directly adapted an existing story, which was the case with Snowpiercer, and again, kind of lumping these English language projects of his art all together. Published just a few years back in 2022 was Mickey 7, written by Edward Ashton, and announced side by side with news of Bong adapting it into a film. There was also a sequel to that book called Antimatter Blues that was released a year later. Like I said at the start of the episode, I paired these all together, mainly representing our director's English language work, but I have to be honest, Mickey 17 stands as probably the worst of the bunch. Not that it was outright bad, but I felt like it was a little bit more than underbaked when thinking about our director's trademarks, and also just like realistically, like what's in the film, what the film tries to set up, and I don't know. I don't think it really does a great job at capitalizing on.
Okay, all right.
Mickey 17 is a sci-fi dark comedy that throws us into a world with incredible cloning technology and space travel advancements, but shows us it through the eyes of an imbecile. With a dead-end life on Earth, we follow Mickey Barnes, played by Robert Pattinson, who enters into the experimental Expendables program. While it might give him his ticket to ride, in exchange, he is subject to a perpetual cloning process and forced to do horrific, life-threatening work. Like all things in life, Mickey takes it on the chin, though. He finds the love of his life en route to a new colonization planet, does his best to navigate a cult of personality that runs the ship, and before you know it, they arrive at their new Goldilocks zone home. One problem, though, everything seems to be going wrong. Top among them is the disturbing discovery that Mickey has lapped himself in the cloning process, painting a target on both of his backs in this new colony struggling to even start. Without a doubt, though, my most excited my anticipation of this film was that the sci-fi just seemed really far future. Takes place, I believe,
2050-ish?
2054 or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
That you kind of maybe define it as near future, but I was really excited to see how far they would push some of these sci-fi concepts in the story. From 3D printed bodies to flawless memory backup, I was hoping to see some sort of reflection on these cloning concepts. As, producer Matt D actually helped me understand how the book explored them a lot deeper. Now, obviously, that book, any book is going to have a lot more depth.
It's going to be fleshed out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to seeing how that might have been explored here. Mostly all of it is used for a comedic punchline, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it seems to deviate significantly from the book. So it kind of leaves me with the comment or the thought that this would be kind of a one or the other case, not watch it in anticipation of the film. But it really did leave me wanting more in this spot, wanting something closer to Moon from 2009, for instance. Still make it a dark comedy, still have fun with the premise. I don't want to rob Bong of his normal style, but a bit more substance to the sci-fi that is at the center of the story and center of Robert Pattinson's character experience. He's going through this firsthand.
Yeah, this leans much more on comedy. I would say almost comedy first.
Yep.
And people are saying, is it satire, is it comedy? I don't know. It's supposed to be more funny, more lighthearted.
It is a little bit more slapstick than satire.
Right, and when you look at a Parasite, it's definitely more drama, creepy based at times.
Yeah, sure.
And then it's comedy second, because there is some comedy bits in Parasite for sure, because he loves sharing these genres.
Yeah.
But this one's heavy on the comedic side. And I don't know if it hurt it or not, or if it's, or how did you feel that he balanced the genres out?
I think really the elevator pitch on this one is that it's very messy. It's spaghetti on the ground. There's just so much going on with this that it's not necessarily, I think, any one piece is bad, but it just kind of, it's a lot going on, and I feel like it's messy. If anything, I found myself saying, I kind of realized why this maybe got pushed a year. I think a year was pretty severe, but I feel like my superstitions, and I'll get into this in just a second, is that the heavy narration we get for Robert Pattinson's character was totally an afterthought, and that was what was done to kind of, I don't know, not make sense of it, but create a through line to this movie.
I didn't hear any rumblings of that.
Okay.
I think it got. I honestly don't know why it got pushed. The only rumors I heard of why it got pushed was because Bong wasn't done editing it and was fighting to do Final Cut on stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I felt like he was struggling with maybe the studio, or at least he was struggling within him himself to cut the film and finalize things. That's the only rumors I kind of got from it.
Sure. That's really where I kind of sit with this film, is just that not any one piece was outright bad, but I feel like by the end there's a lot just kind of left hanging, and I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well,
on
I was going to say, okay, so I think maybe where I was going in my head with that is, would you had liked the genres to be swapped, it to be more of a serious sci-fi drama with just kind of sprinklings of comedy? Would that have made it more serious? Would that have glued down the story more?
Yeah, my comparison to Moon is that we're still focused on one character's perception of the technology that they interact with.
Yeah.
I think there's something there that can be done that, yes, we're always with Robert Pattinson. He's always narrating in this movie. I don't know. I feel like more could have been done there, not to make it more serious, but to just lean into the tech that defines his life a little bit more. And if anything, that's your opportunity for the satire that's already there, the comedy that's already there, of just like, how ridiculous is this that we're putting him in this, and, you know, devil may care, you know, he's gonna you know, come out alive, he may come out dead, doesn't matter, we got another Mickey in the tank, basically.
See, that's very you looking for more of the sci-fi element. You want to delve into the tech of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't really on my mind much.
Okay.
Like, you could have told me we were in 2300. You could have said that we were in 2035.
Yeah.
To me, I wasn't so focused on that. It was more so I was more focused on the story beats of it, not so much the environmental of it.
Sure.
So what do I have in my notes here? It's just Bong is so good at creating a puzzle and taking you through putting that puzzle together.
Sure.
And it's incredible, and he's genre swapping.
Yep.
And it's incredible. Like, Parasite is a beautiful, great movie. It's funny at times. It's heartbreaking. It's lovely. It's scary at times.
Yeah, I'm totally with you as far as the scary part.
He's very impressive in that way. And here we had a big puzzle, and the puzzle itself wasn't as impressive, and the journey of putting it together wasn't as good.
Yes.
And so it just doubly kind of fell a little bit more flat. And I don't take it as an amateur, where sometimes people do crazy just to be crazy on screen.
Sure.
You have weird in this movie.
Yeah.
And you have crazy, and it doesn't feel like an amateur, but it feels a little bit not fleshed out as what you would like to see.
Yeah, I feel
I'm
like...
not as impressed with the messiness of it, how crazy it is. Toni Collette being all about sauce, and Mark Ruffalo's character. It's weird, he's going for a weird... But I think you said one of your first words for it was half-baked.
Yes.
And I think that goes along. Yeah, I think
and it's almost it's sad to say that, because it was longer. It had more time in the oven, basically. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would have been the fix to it, but there's something here that I can't even say it's not like his other films. It is. It's just
right. It is.
Unfortunately, it feels a little bit lesser. So let's talk about what I think is the big make or break with this, or at least what has kind of been my experience talking to people about the film, and what has prevented them from seeing it, or their interest, is the clone himself, Robert Pattinson. Now, I need to stress that the biggest hurdle for being able to enjoy this film hinges on his vocal performance. Every single line that he delivers is intentionally whiny. Like I said, you know, he's intentionally an idiot. We're supposed to see these sci-fi concepts through the eyes of an idiot.
Right.
It wouldn't be such a big focus if the story didn't rely on such a heavy narration. We get to kind of a catch-up point that catch up to the story. I forget the writing term, in medias res or whatever. But we catch up to the point that we started the story with Robert Pattinson, with Mickey. And there's... I don't know. I thought the narration was going to end. I thought the exposition was going to end. And still, we're just constant. I mean, he's always narrating over this. And that's fine because it is sometimes the comedy itself, how he sees a situation or something like that.
And he is the movie.
You're right. He really is.
Not only is he the focus, the movie. I mean, it's called Mickey 17. It is him.
And that's why I mean it's a make or break, because it's like, if you're not digging the voice, you're not going to dig this movie.
And what were your thoughts on him?
I liked it.
Yeah,
I thought it was fine.
Me too. I think Robert Pattinson is one of... For instance, speaking of vocal work and speaking of Tom Hardy, that's someone that can take you out of a film.
Right. Going back to Bike Riders.
Robert Pattinson has always impressed me.
Yes.
And that's why, like, 5 minutes into the Batman, I'm cool with it.
Sure.
The fact that he can be a whiny, kind of little bitch character in Mickey 17 and yet still be the Batman and do a good job, great. He was the voice in Boy and the Heron.
Yes,
he played the English version of the Heron.
Absolutely.
A great job.
Oh, and a weird performance. I think this, in combination with Boy and the Heron, you see Pattinson trying to... I mean, he's already kind of done it, but really trying to break from the mold of Twilight, or he's just a heartthrob character. He's trying to do weird things, and I can respect that.
Yeah, I think he's proven himself too.
Yeah.
He's in my top 4 under 40, I think.
Oh, really?
As far as actors, yeah.
Top 4 under 40.
I just made it up. Yeah.
That's great. Put it on the site.
But he is. I think he's that good of an actor. I think he's one of my favorite kind of young guns, you could say.
Sure, absolutely. And I certainly want to encourage that type of experimentation on his acting front. But like I introduced, there's just there is something endearing about this idiot character being the eyes we see the world through. And I personally don't mind that delivery. But regardless if you dig the performance or not, I feel like there is a lot of exposition constantly strung throughout the film. And a handful of aspects around this that just it smells to me like that was added post-production. I'm not saying that's even a bad thing if the test screening or some of that early news we heard around Mickey 17, I'm talking like early 2024, where people were worried about releasing it, or Warner Brothers was releasing it. I feel like the Band-Aid for that was more exposition. Let's have a little bit more of a backbone to the story of where things are leading. I think it made it lose something to the film. I wanted to kind of just... I don't know. It was be left alone a little bit.
Yeah, maybe let us figure it out.
Sure.
Let the actual movie play out.
Right.
And us to be involved in it. Yeah. I don't know. I was noticing how heavy it was with the voiceover work. I think it was kind of part of the film. I mean, a lot of the rumors or the trepidation that I heard from studio people or comments of it, it was just like, well, it's certainly out there. It's certainly a wild film, or even just like lackluster stuff.
Clearly don't know what to say.
I think it's kind of just like WB, Warner Brothers studio guys that don't understand this Korean guy.
Sure.
That how you get the host, how you get a parasite.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a film for them.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just not a film for most people. Like, maybe Bong deserves to just like have his $50 million movies that have a great film following and they'll make money, so long as you don't treat them like a huge blockbuster.
Sure. And where this was trying to
be that. Now, with that being said, I mean, I don't want to go around the fact of just like, yes, there was a lot of voiceover.
Yeah. True. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you listen to a lot of my reviews. I'm sure there are things that are just simply not going to bother another moviegoer, another audience.
Right.
We've talked in the past about like advertisements in film, why that's like a nitpick for me,
Big
but
time.
really matters, you know, ultimately. But that's not just it almost like doesn't even register for some people, and that's totally fine. Here, it kind of falls into that, just in the same note of just like you're either going to dig the voice or the voice is going to be grading to the experience. Guess what? That is the experience.
100%. Yeah.
Also, just a side note, and I want to be careful just because it is definitely in spoiler territory, but a good example is towards the climax, where Mickey is kind of pantomiming or miming basically sex positions that he has with his romance. I think it's Naomi Aki, I want to say the actress is. And it's such a small little note of the earlier part of the film, and the fact that this was used as like a real like, and that's the key to the solution of the problem. It just felt like that in combination with all of this, it's messy spaghetti. It's like, I don't know if I don't know. There's it feels like it doesn't have a good main through line, but also that exposition is almost prescribing the through line.
It's not tied down enough. And the funny thing is about the film...
You know the scene I'm talking about?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
And you're right. It's just like, okay, all right, that was the payoff of that.
Yes, right. And it was just like, wait, that?
And I think overall for the film, how we go from this genre to this genre a little bit and what happens, it is weird. It is crazy. He does put you out there. But all of it actually, in turn, is kind of basic.
Yeah, right.
And it's not as impressive as maybe we've seen from him. So I think maybe a lot of people who aren't used to, who don't go to the movies a lot, or might turn this on and be like, what is going on? This is crazy. But I think for people that know this guy and has seen some of his work, it's just like, okay, yeah, we're doing this. It's actually quite grounded in
that the comedy drives it.
Well, the comedy drives it, but I mean, even like the tones, even some of the scenes, it's like I felt like we got bogged down in a couple of scenes too much, and they just seemed not up to par with maybe what we would expect from him.
Sure,
that's the thing. It is you were so right. Where it seems a little bit half baked, it's not completely followed through. The puzzle isn't as impressive.
Yes. Both like solving it and then the result of the puzzle.
Exactly.
yeah, like you put time into a Rubik's Cube and then it's just like, oh, this looks like crap. Like, what is
Exactly.
Yeah. And I will say, a lot of that, on the side of like people that know his movies, there is a massive expectation here coming off of Parasite. There is almost impossible to reach.
Unfairly, yeah.
Exactly. So that's where there was a lot of reflection I did on this. Folks, most films I watch for the podcast, I intentionally give a few days to marinate on it before giving any kind of score. Sometimes that benefits a movie. I would say actually most times it benefits a movie. But sometimes it makes me a little bit even harsher on it. And I think, unfortunately, Mickey 17 falls into the latter, that I was a little bit harsher on it, trying to think back on it. The real moment, the breakthrough for me, was actually reflecting on writing the summary of, how to organize what was a spoiler-free summary, how clear it was how long and clear it was to get into the main, stretch of the story, the main run of the story. And further thinking about what spoilers to avoid, how much was really just left hanging at the end. Despite the constant existential comedy, the ethical satire potential here, it feels like the story just got a little lost in introducing new ideas outside of the original concept. And I think, once again, another great example. I'll leave it for just understanding when you watch the film. But you can really look to Mark Ruffalo's character as evidence of that, of just like, this feels like he had the original concept and he said, let's pull something else, and it doesn't quite fit.
It doesn't quite land.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sure you.
Well, do we get into Mark Ruffalo? Do you want to start getting into characters?
I was wrapping up, but I don't know. Mark Ruffalo, man.
Let's go down the characters real quick. Okay. How about that? Okay. I had said after watching the trailer that I have a feeling that I already hate the fact that Mark Ruffalo got this spot and Stanley Tucci didn't.
Oh, okay.
That now after watching it, I actually think Stanley Tucci would have done a great job. But
sure.
But Mark Ruffalo was fine in this. But what it came down to wasn't his performance and was the character. It's just like, I don't know if it earned his ridiculousness.
Yes.
And I don't think we had enough time for him. There's a lot going on. It wants him to be a certain character and then also wants him to be a different kind of character.
Yes.
And that's the whole movie. It wants to be a movie, it wants to be a different kind of movie.
Yep.
Toni Collette is probably one of the most consistent characters, I actually would say.
Yeah.
And she's good. Toni Collette is great, and she plays a crazy person. She plays a Tildy role.
yeah, for sure. The Tildy slot, we'll call it.
And I think Robert Pattinson was really great, and everybody else was just kind of there to support Robert Pattinson in any way. I think Stephen Yeun,
Yeun.
I've really been enjoying him.
Yes.
And I think he's kind of a top-tier actor, becoming like... He's just good. I think he's underutilized in the film.
Yep. In the producer space, too. Stephen Yeun is behind Invincible, very popular right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, everybody was good. Just some of the characters weren't up to snuff for what they maybe could be. Weren't strong enough. And Mark Ruffalo as well. Stanley Tucci would have done a good job.
Wait, was he in the talks or just you?
No, it's just me.
Okay.
Yep,
Fantastic.
just me talking.
Yep. I'm with you.
I think if Tucci did it, he would have taken a completely different role.
Yeah.
But Mark Ruffalo, you're watching it, and it's like, I get it. It is funny. And, like, it's Napoleon complex, and you have the weird religious aspect to it because he's always hitting on... kind of topical stuff, let's be
Yeah,
honest.
oh, for
I
sure.
mean, Bong is not afraid to go topical.
Yep.
But it is. It's something that falls a little bit flat.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. Like, the individual parts, not bad. Almost none of them, like, outright bad. Just, there was a lot of them, and I just, for some reason, you know, the flowing between them not only left a lot on the table, wasn't as elegant as it flows in between, you know, his other type of movies.
I just have a few questions, rapid fire, and then since you're wrapping up and giving a score. One was, did the trailer give away too much? Now that you were struggling of how much to say or how much. I mean, let's be honest. We're forgetting a big part of the story.
Yeah.
But for good reason.
Yes, you're right. I would say yes, ultimately. Yeah, especially, I forget what cut of the trailer was, but we definitely got a lot of iterations of this trailer trying to build buzz for it, especially after the year delay.
It gave one major thing that happens.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that would have been a big thing to save.
Sure. Or even some of the imagery of the climax around, you know, the planet. Just like, okay, well, I definitely know the height of where this goes, even if it's a comedy.
Okay,
you know?
so too much. Did you ever actually laugh out loud in the theater?
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same thing. It was snicker, it was smirks, you know, and that type of stuff.
I don't think I ever laughed.
Yeah, no, you saw it actually on like opening, like pre-release night. Was it packed or?
It was a good theater. It was not packed, but it was a good. It was a nice looking theater.
Sure. Nice looking theater.
Let's say that. Okay?
Smiling, happy people. But crowd reaction minimal. Like...
You had slight laugh out loud moments. You know, it takes more for me.
Sure, yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Both for like the social element of that, you know, being loud and obnoxious, but also like
nothing got me. Nothing actually got me to my gut, which I was maybe hoping for.
Yes.
And I could see moments that Bong put in the movie that were supposed to be like, "Ooh."
You're right.
It just didn't get me. No, I didn't miss me with all that. I think walking out of it.
Yeah.
Did you feel like your time was wasted?
No.
Your 2 hours and 17 minutes. Or
and that really where I come to because again, I marinating on this, I was almost getting like not worked up, but I was getting harsher and harsher on it. And I said, no, let me just pause the brakes here because it's just like it wasn't a bad movie. Bong style. You got to get kind of hooked on it first. For me, that was Snowpiercer. I feel like for a lot of people, that was Okja or Parasite.
Yeah.
This can be a hook for someone else as well, without maybe some of that expectation coming off of Parasite, which is...
It's heavy. It's a lot.
Yeah, massive. Most of all, I really thought these characters lacked a bit of the charm that we have repeatedly highlighted as one of the trademarks for Bong. Just a total opposite of what we are coming off of with his last award-winning movie. You know, it might be the best example of the pieces working together. I think Parasite, for me, on top of being, you know, top 3 for our director here, there is something as well that I think it's worth a watch simply to see how he can perfectly balance the juggling act of all these genres and all these feelings and all the tones and characters. And this just was not a good example of that. It was the juggling act and specifically, you know, things falling down. We're going to go ahead and give Mickey 17 a 61.
Oh, wow, a 61.
Yeah.
That's not the strongest score.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad, actually.
That's like below good movie, which we tentatively put it at 65. You know?
Right. Middle of the 60s. I still think it's to your point about like wasted time. It's definitely crossing over in the 60s because I feel like there's a lot to still love about this, especially like side characters. I like the scientists for instance. You know, I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot here that I mean, even in comparison to my old rating of Okja, I thought Okja was better. So. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. 61%. I'm not gonna give it a 2.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't.
It's a good move. Well, unintended pause there.
I can't be giving them out like hotcakes. Like I was for a while.
Sure.
And but I will say I almost share
like shoe cakes.
We're coming out very similar on this one.
Sure.
Not a lot of love, but not openly hate for this film.
Yeah.
And it has the craziness of Bong, but it almost is just like it leaves you wanting more and leaves you wishing that what you did get was better. You know, but you can't say that the guy's not imaginative. You can't say that it's a normal film because it's not. But there's normal aspects to the film.
Sure.
And when he tries to get there, it just doesn't get 100% there.
Yeah.
So after 2 hours and 17 minutes, it leaves you leaving not hating it, but frustrated.
Yeah.
You know, and I can say I walked out. The reason
little wasted time?
reason why I said, like, did it waste your time? It's like, no, like, I'm glad I went to the movie to see it.
Sure.
Like, I'm glad I saw
This was
it.
one very hyped by you, too.
But I'm frustration. But I'm not going to be like, I wish I had my ticket money back. I don't have that. So 61% for Mickey 17. I'm still saying that this is kicking off 2025 though. It's earlier than before.
I think so, and at least for the novelty of the film, I mean, like, it is a wild movie,
Absolutely.
an original movie,
Yep.
and I
Yes,
will
it
take
is.
that any day over
Yes, it
what we had
is.
to face in January and February so far.
Amen to that, brothers. Okay, so looking at these scores, Vin, anything you want to end on, touch on, things for next week? What's up, or roll credits?
Well, next week, honestly, a lot of March is going to be very packed. But next week is probably going to be an all-new episode. We got Black Bag from Soderbergh, second time around the bend with
I'm
Soderbergh.
telling you, it's getting good reviews.
I listen, I hope so, because
to pump
I like
everybody up,
Fassbender, I like Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett,
so
yeah.
I'm nervously excited. No. Morbidly curious. That's what I'm looking for. Morbidly curious for Electric State from the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
Our latest big Netflix release.
Same.
Getting getting dragged. We got Novocaine with Dennis Quaid's son. What is his name?
Quaid. I don't know. Quaid's son. He's
Quaid's-
Dennis Quaid's son.
Whoa, that's... And then I'm going to try to see if we can maybe get to Opus, which is an A24 release that got some hype previously.
Yeah, we'll see when it comes to theater release for that one.
Yeah.
We'll see if we get in there. But that'll all be hashed out by the time the new show comes out Tuesday morning. Other than that, Vin, thank you so much for watching these films, for your reviews here tonight. Folks at home, we'll run it down one more time. We've got Barking Dogs Never Bite with a 7. Oh, you know what? One more question for you. Would you ever eat a dog?
Oof. We're recording this?
Yeah, well, not
Survival instinct?
not survival.
Oh.
You're in another country.
Damn.
You're in another country, and someone, especially in Japan, let's say you're in Japan.
Okay.
I don't know Japan.
I think it's a South Korea thing,
The
unfortunately.
Philippines? Okay,
Yeah.
let's say you're in South Korea. You got a nice restaurant.
Yep.
The guy likes you, right? The chef likes you and says, like, hey, this one's on the house, and puts a dog in front of you.
Oh, my God.
Are
What
you
is this?
Anthony Bourdain and be like, this, absolutely? Or are you going to be like Andrew Zimmern who says, like, I don't do that, thank you.
Oh, wow. Zimmerman shot it down? Interesting.
I'm not going to get into it. There's a reason why I said it, but...
I would say a little bit of a change of the circumstances. No, in The Chef, if I was invited into someone's home and it was a little bit more intimate like that, I don't know. I think I might be pressured to. Oh my
Listen,
God,
you
that's
put
I don't like this. This is gonna be on the internet.
Put teriyaki sauce on anything, and I'll eat it.
All right, you got it. Yeah. All right, so that's a yeah.
Yeah, sure, I'll eat dog. All right, folks, we got
Wow.
Barking Dogs Never Bite with a 70%, Snowpiercer with an 80%, Okja, we're bumping that up to a 68%, and finally, Mickey 17 with a 61%. As always, folks, we have a blast every week, and we'll see you right here next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast. And hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating or get the word out and tell a friend about us. And just a reminder that the Daily Ratings is completely producer supported. We want to stay away from advertising, and we don't want to have any paywalls or tier structures or subscriptions. It's all just value for value. So, are you finding value in what we're doing here at the Daily Ratings? Then become a producer and donate whatever amount of value that is. Just go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com, and while you're there, be sure to check out the massive amount of films that Vince has rated. So just remember, folks, always remember to get your dogs and pets spayed and neutered. And thanks so much. We'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.